Good evening everyone, and welcome to another Queensland Severe Weather Chasers Network cyclone video update tonight, the 25th of March 2018. My name is Nathan Donnelly, and tonight we're talking about ex-tropical cyclone Nora, the Explorer. Okay, so let's see what's happening with ex-tropical cyclone Nora, the Explorer. And at 4 p.m. today, Nora had hit the coastline there just to the east, or maybe right on top there, of Gilbert River mouth. It's expected to remain a low pressure system, or a deep low pressure system, right through till Monday morning, and then at 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon expected to be just off or just on the coastline there between Gilbert River mouth and Corumba. Then it's expected to go into a northwest to west-northwest direction, and at 4 a.m. Tuesday morning expected to still be a low pressure system, but re-intensifying into a category 1 system by 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, just off the off Mornington Island there. Then quickly head in this westerly direction towards the Northern Territory Queensland border, and by 4 a.m. Wednesday evening expected to still be a category 1 system, then hitting the coastline between 4 a.m. on the Wednesday morning and 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, and downgrading very quickly to a low pressure system just south of Port MacArthur. So let's see what this means now in terms of rainfall according to the Bureau of Meteorology. And tomorrow, the 26th of March, the bulk of the rainfall is expected to be on the coastline here between Normangton and Burketown, possibly even hitting Normangton. Yes, it is. So Normangton expecting between 200 to 300 millimeters of rain. If we go now through to Tuesday, and we can see that that rainfall has now pushed off the coastline, so really not a lot of the rain penetrating onto the coastline. Normangton expecting between 25 to 50 millimeters, Burketown only 10 to 15. Then on Wednesday, pretty much the rainfall from this system has pretty much washed out. There is possibly some heavier type rain between 50 to 100 millimeters there on the Northern Territory Queensland coastline. Now we have a look at this satellite imagery of this system, and we can see that at midnight last night the system was sitting here just on the coastline of the west coastline of the Cape York Peninsula. Then if we look to see what's happened throughout the day, we can see that there's been quite a de-intensification. So a lot of that deep dark red showing really good convection has pretty much died away by 7 a.m. So this system is really de-intensifying at quite a rapid rate. Then if we look through now until this afternoon, and at 3 p.m. we'll just get there to 3 p.m. this afternoon, the system has somewhat pretty much looks very washed out. There is still some deep convection happening there at certain spots in the system, but nothing like what it was as it hit the coastline earlier this morning. We have a look now at the European model and the winds associated with this system, and we can see that according to the European models, at 8 p.m. this evening, the cyclone expected to be off the coastline there, just north of Corumba, and probably near the Gilbert River mouth. And the winds are still quite strong here on its western side, or southwestern side. We look through to see what happens for tomorrow morning, and the system is expected to head in a westerly sort of direction, and then just stall for a little bit, and then ever so slowly creep towards the west. And as it does, it tends to re-intensify itself with these strong winds still to its western side. We look now to Monday afternoon, and the system just hangs around in the area, heads a little bit north for a little while, and then just stops there for a moment. We come back a couple here at 5 p.m. Pretty much getting itself going once again. Possibly, and I only say possibly, a Category 1 system by this time Monday afternoon. They're just off the coastline around maybe north of the Gilbert River mouth. Now, if we look through to Tuesday morning, and the system just ever so slightly wants to travel in this westerly direction, and then by 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, the system there just off the Mornington Island, and quite probably a Category 1 at this stage, with some strong winds right around the centre of it, and those winds also affecting the eastern point of Mornington Island. And then Tuesday afternoon, the system heads west, and at 5 p.m. expected to have really de-intensified as it gets close to the coastline here around the Northern Territory and Queensland border. And if we just track it into Wednesday morning just to see what happens Wednesday morning, and the system crosses the coastline, and by 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, the system really is just a low pressure system with some of its stronger winds there on its southern side. So yeah, not a very long lifespan for this system left to go. So yeah, let's see what happens in our other models. So having a very quick look now at windy.com, and at 5 p.m. this afternoon, the system just sitting off the western coastline of the Cape York Peninsula. Its winds to its west are at the 50 knots. A bit closer to the centre, they're 45, so they actually go down as we get closer to the centre, which is a bit unusual, but anyway. So they're about between 30 and 45 knots, the winds to its west or southwestern side. Rainfall, so on the coastline, so around that Gilbert River mouth area, 53 millimetres in the hour, 70.9 off the coastline. And just because we do have this rain event happening over on the eastern side of the Cape York Peninsula because of the winds from this system, Cape Tribulation and Port Douglas around the 32.9 millimetres at this same time. Now, if we look to see what happens Tuesday morning, sorry, Monday morning, getting a bit ahead of myself, and just go back here a bit. Okay, at 9 a.m. Monday morning, this system here likely to be just north or northwest of Corumba, and the winds, we're now expecting 41 knot winds over there on its western side. On the coastline, the strongest winds around the Corumba area are expecting to be about 34 knots. So 34 to 37 knots just in Corumba. The rainfall is now centered still to its southern side, and Corumba now picking up 67 millimeters of rain, and off the coastline it's 80.1 millimeters of rain on the southern side of Nora the Explorer. If we look now to Monday afternoon, and at 6 p.m. we can see that the system has headed north a little bit now, and as it does, the winds are starting to strengthen once again on its western side, 50 knots. On the coastline, just here between the Gilbert River mouth and Corumba, about 33 knots. The rain following the system, still on its southern side, also a little bit on its western side there as well. But on the coastline, we're expecting 38.1 millimeters, maybe up to 51, and off the coastline we've got 70.8 millimeters of rain. So now let's see what happens Tuesday morning. We can see that the system travels north and a bit west, and then at 8 AM on Tuesday morning the system really has got itself intensifying again, possibly a Cat 1, 52 knot winds happening at this stage. Mornington Island, which is the next area that will need to, well, that will be feeling the effects of this system, at this stage only 33 knot winds, so they haven't really gotten into the thick of it, but we'll see what happens over the next few hours. Rainfall, really not a lot hitting the coastline. The only area is this area here, inland of the coastline, 34.3 millimeters of rain. On the waters, 87.8 millimeters of rain. We look through now to Tuesday afternoon, and the system heads westerly, and by 4 PM the eye of the system is set to be on the eastern coastline of the Mornington Island. So if we look at the winds happening around here, the strongest winds are about 42 knots per hour. Off the coastline they're 48, so Mornington Island really feeling the effects of the wind from this system. The rainfall, Mornington Island is pretty much getting the bulk of it, with 54.5 millimeters happening in this time frame. So, and then offshore it's 64.2 millimeters. Let's look to Tuesday afternoon. The Wednesday morning really rapidly moves off to the west and hits the coastline once again, and pretty much from there on it's a died system. It's had its time and it's moving on across to the Northern Territory. We finally have a look at Earth's null school, and we can see that the eye of this system is pretty much on land now. It's got some strong winds to its western side, not so strong to its eastern side as they're coming over land, but still can have a little bit of moisture in them. So yeah, if you're on its western side at this stage, you'd be expecting some fairly strong winds from this system. So folks, that's all we have for time for tonight, so thank you for watching. Now our next cyclone video update will be tomorrow afternoon, as we look at what happens to the system as it re-intensifies over the Gulf. So thanks for watching, and if you'd like to support our work that we do for you, please do take the time to show your appreciation by donating to us through our PayPal link. So thank you and good night.